Hi everyone, I'm just going to do a quick sculpt and just show you some of how the ways I use the tools, if any of you are interested. So, in a quick rundown of some of the tools. So you've got your paint palette on the top left menu, and you've got 3 different types for each color that you choose. You've got clay type, metal, which is sort of like a shiny metallic, and clay is almost sort of a matte, and then you've got glowing. So if I was to select, say, the sun, and I go like that, metallic, and then glowing, you can see the difference is quite clear. And then if you want any shade of colour, you can use the paint palette to push it away from you for darker and bring it towards you for lighter colours of the same colour. I'm just going to get my blue, and then we'll try out some of these tools as we're doing the sculpt. So I'll just put out, this is a snapping box to box, so I'll just do my base of the sculpt with that one. Now I'm going to go to the puck, which is sort of just a draggable disc really. And then I click A on the right controller, and that makes it go to sculpt carve mode. I'm currently using this, recording this on a PC on a Rift S. So most of the tools you'll have on the Quest, there will just be the exception of a few, but mostly it's view distance that you'll probably find a little bit different. Which, if you go to settings in the top left in the Quest, there'll be an option to select screenshot mode, which will give you a bit better view level of detail distance. So now I'm using bulge deflate tool just to make the back of this wave look a little bit better. I might just do the front of it too, just to reduce the pixel size a little bit. And if you click the A from bulge to deflate, then I can actually take it away or add to it. And you've got the layers button, so I'm going to add another layer now. I might add 3 layers, but first we'll go back to layer number 1, because I just want to paint this wave initially. Just got a bit of it's got some water going on here. It's a bit of froth. It's amazing, if you play around with the paint tool, you can get quite a lot of effects that you may enjoy. And if I switch back to matte, you can get some interesting crossover effects in blend mode, which is, so you've got full opacity and half opacity, which can sometimes give you a combo between when you're switching over top of a shiny color to a clay or a matte color. You can get some interesting effects going on, just to sort of subtly blend it a bit more. I probably had a little bit too much of that white up the top there before, so I'll just get rid of some of that. Blend it in a bit better. And then I'll get the puck tool and we'll go back to white, just for some of where the water's actually broken down off the front of the wave here. And I'll just blend that a little bit with the bulge deflate tool, just so it smooths into the wave a little bit better. I might go for a different color blue, so I'll just choose my palette, or slightly more green. That'll probably do us. And this is where I use the cone tool a lot for the painting, because you can sort of get quite a nice look to it by just doing it whatever size you want, but going in quite fast and quick. You almost give it like the light sort of shining through the wave type effect. Now I'll just do a bit of detail to the water in the front as well, just to give it a little bit extra detail. Right, we'll go to layer 1.1 now. We'll begin the next part of the sculpt. So we'll use the sword tool for this one. Obviously this is adding, and then you've got the option to carve with it as well, which we won't carve because we're not on that layer, but anyway. We'll come back down to here somewhere. For scaling, I probably should have said this at the start, but anyway, scaling is you use your two inside grip buttons or grab buttons and pull your hands wider and further together, and you can just scale the picture for big. See, now I'm a lot smaller than the wave itself, but I want to get under there for my next part of the sculpt. So I'm not too worried about it. I just get the rough shape there for a start, and then I quite often will just use bulge blade to get this, to smooth the shape out and then round it off to what I feel is about right from what I'm after. And now because I'm on a separate layer, it's not affecting the water what I do. I just want to get this a little bit more rounded at the back here. Probably close enough. I'll just get the sword tool now and just carve a little bit off the top of this board. Now we'll just run the smoothing, and on the smoothing I don't want to, well, I haven't got any other color paint to upset, but you can go to shape only or colors only or shapes and colors. Shape only is good if you don't want to blend the colors too much. Just got to get the side of this board just a little bit better. I've just left it not quite straight. That'll do me for now. Just put a bit of a kick up on the front of it. So that'll be layer 1.1. I might just add a little bit of paint to that. Just give it a big red lightning bolt. Maybe a red stripe across the back end. One across the front. Just fix that a little bit. It's done. So now we'll flick to layer 1.1.1. Begin the next part of the sculpt. So we're on this layer. I want to turn mirror mode on for this one, but it's not quite. See, I want to have it, I'm going to do something on the surfboard. I want to draw a kiwi on the surfboard. So what I want to do is get that positioned right so that I don't have to do both sides separately. I can do both at the same time and then rearrange it after. So what we'll do is you can unlock the layer, and then you can position the mirror wherever you want by using the grab button. So I'm going to position it roughly down the middle of the surfboard, about there. Just lock the layer and move in a little bit because it moves the layer as if you use your grab buttons. So that's pretty close enough for me. So now I'll just zoom down. And I'll get the basic shape of the kiwi going. Start a little bit higher actually. And I'll do the legs. This is identically mirrored on the other side, so which is going to look a bit funny for what I'm trying to do here at the moment. So you'll see how I'll change that later. just swap to the puck tool for these claws. And then I'll use the sword tool now, just to carve these away a little bit. I use the puck tool under this one in carve mode just because it's a bit easy to get into there. Probably should have carved it out first. And just sort of shave off a bit there. There. And then I'll just put a smooth across them, I think, just to make them look a little bit better. And that's the claws done. I'll just add a few little extra bits in just to make it look better in the long term. It looks pretty rough how you do it like this, but once you smooth everything off or bulge deflate it, it soon fixes that up. So we'll go back to bulge deflate. That's looking a bit more like what I wanted. A little bit more on this side. A little bit higher those. That'll do for now. I'll just do where the claw starts. And go back to bulge deflate for this lot as well. Just inflate the piece behind it to make it look like the claws are protruding from the skin. And then we'll just move on to the body now and just get that pretty close with the bulge deflate by just removing pieces we don't want and pushing in pieces that are sticking out too far. Generally just sort of smoothing the entire thing off, really. Alright, now we'll just do a little bit more detail. We're going to do the beak. So for the beak, I'll probably do the puck tool, I think. So we'll go get a different colour, more of a beak sort of a colour. Right about there. Just get position about right, because it's obviously mirroring it, so that doesn't matter. And I'll give him a bottom part of his beak. Now I'll just go back to bulge deflate, and then we'll just join up parts we want to join up and just deflate the bits we don't need. So it's along the side here we probably don't need. And then I'll just smooth that out. Oh, too much. Might bulge that actually just to join it a bit better. So you can sort of see how it just pulls in those bits that are sticking out a little bit far, and it's really still a little bit wide for a kiwi's beak, so I'll just reduce it a little bit more. Now I'll just use the bulge tool a little bit smaller scale just to try and smooth out some of those uneven bits on it. Now get the sword tool and just carve a couple of nostrils in it. They're a little bit big, but that's alright because we'll smooth those out. Now we want to do where its eye is going to go. So I'll carve out a bit of a hole in the side of there, carving one, and then I'll just add a little bit around the top. I don't know how, this isn't going to be that realistic, but just to give you an idea what things do. Again, just bulging and deflating, just to match all that in nicely. So now for the eyeball, I might actually draw those after, because I can do each one of those separately, because I want to position it where I want to position it now. So this is another reason why I use a separate layer for this. So now I'm on that layer, turn the mirror off, and I'll go to my stamp tool, which is only available in single player unless you're the host in an online session. So this is looking a bit too sort of robotic almost, the pose being created in mirror mode. So what I want to do is just, before I change it, I'll just rescale its head somewhere about there, and I'll just get rid of it. Its head's all gone. I'll get rid of a bit of, you can actually edit, partially edit the sculpt as well if you want to on the fly. I might have taken a little bit much off the neck there, so I want to be able to still join it back in. That's probably a bit better. And then I'll wait for that to stamp. Now, what it's done is it's obviously I haven't stamped it quite in the exact spot, but it's where I sort of wanted it to be. So then I use bulge deflate to sort of blend the two back together, and I'm probably get smooth and no just smooth shape only, and I just smooth because when you stamp it seems to have a few artifacts and things, so if you smooth it off, it reduces a bit of the size of the file as well, makes it look better as well. Now obviously our feet are a little bit the same, so we'll stamp the feet next. We'll shift them around a little bit before we get the final result. I'll clear that. Position it back so it's about the right size. And now we just need bulge deflate again. I'll just get rid of his foot. Poor Kiwi's losing a foot. Stamp that there. And then I'll get rid of the rest of this part of it, because we want to just give it a slightly bit more natural look, so it's not doing the exact same thing as the other foot. And this just all comes with a bit of practice and how you want your thing to look. So now I'll go back to the smoothing brush. I'll just clear the stamp. Shape only. Just give the foot a bit of a smooth out now we've done that. I'll go to bulge deflate and just fix up a bit of noticeable stuff underneath there. That's now visible now that it's off the surfboard. This one's the same. I think that's probably close enough. I can do the eyes now, so we'll switch to another layer. Go back to another layer, 1.2. I won't bother with mirror on this one, because I'll just do each eye separately to give it a more of a unique look. So I'll go to sphere. And the reason I do eyes on a separate layer is that it doesn't blend the two paints together on the outside surface. So if I'm just trying to think what colour I'm going to do the eye, I need a yellowish colour and a metallic. I'll try this colour. Something like that, probably. maybe a little bit brighter. And I'll just deflate that a little bit, it should be a little bit big. That'll do. Just do the other side now. Now we'll colour it. So we're keeping with metallic for the eye, so it gives it a bit more of an alive, sort of a shiny look. I'll do his pupil down the centre, and then I'll go for a darker brown metallic around the outside, but in blended mode, just so it doesn't sort of highlight or take away from the pupil too much. Let's go back to the black just to thicken it up in the centre. And I'll just get a white metallic, just a little on full mode, just a slight bit as though there's a reflection there. And then I'll go back to black just for around the edges so that it doesn't look quite so stark to the rest of the, where it's a bit more shadowed underneath the eyebrow and that. Just give the whole thing a light one, it should look alright, doesn't look too bad. Now we'll just repeat the same on this side. So I'll just quickly do his eye, his pupil. Around the pupil with the brown. Back to black for the outside. We've got half opacity, not full. And we'll just do the little white bit of reflection. And now we'll switch back to the kiwi layer. And just do a bit of a tidy up around in here. So you can, now that the eyeball's done, you can actually bulge out the eyelid over it if you think it looks too big. Just to reshape things how you want. And now we'll give them some feathers. Make sure we're on clay coloured, not metallic. I'm just using puck tool for the feathered look for the edge of him. And you can do this on mirrored mode if you want as well. But because I've swapped the head around, I don't want to upset it too much. You get a slightly more unique look. If it might take you a little bit longer to do it individually, both sides, but you do get that slight added benefit of it not looking exactly the same. It doesn't look like a plastic animal quite the same then. Really getting a bit rough here. I'll just bulge deflate some of this down because I've got a bit carried away with the feathering on the top there. That's probably enough for now. Just quickly do a little bit on this side. That'll do us. Now we'll just, there's a little bit on his head there. We'll colour him in. So while I've still got the dark brown selected, we'll go back to the paint cone. And on half opacity, we'll just darken up the sides of his beak a little bit. I might darken up the inside of its nostrils. We're on black, shiny, so we need to go to matte. And just using that generously around there just gives it a little bit of a darker look, sort of natural shadowing. Go back to the light brown, find a different colour brown, or a reddish brown, maybe that one will do. A half opacity on that, and we'll try that and see what that looks like. Yep, that'll be alright. Spray a bit of that over it. Maybe slightly redder brown, that one there, maybe just for the one on top side of him. It's probably a little bit light, but that's all good because you can go over with a darker black again at the end just to darken things up, but it gives it a reddish tinge, which is sort of a quite cool effect I like doing. Let's go for a lighter grey under his belly, I think. Now we'll just darken the edges of that up a little bit. Now we'll go for his feet. We'll get a dark grey, and we'll do where his folds in the skin are on his legs and feet. Just sort of running it through where it looks like there'd be natural sort of shadowing. Just adds to the painting, just helps it make it look so much better. And this is, you can either do this colouring before you stamp it if you wanted to, but I prefer doing it after because you don't know what angle it's going to be. The lighting can look a bit different, so change it around a little bit, mix it up. And we'll just give him a little bit of brown on his feet too, so they're not just all the same old greyish colour. We'll do his claws last. So I'm just resizing constantly when I'm moving around, just it's easier to get in quickly to places. So that's done. So we'll go back to a beaky sort of a colour for his claws. Then I'll just get the black on and just do the around the edges just to make it look a little bit more not so the same colour. His leg looks a little bit funny angled where I've put it, but that'll do for now. Right, we'll go back to the water layer. I just want to use the puck here and just as though he's got his foot just rubbing in the water there. And I'll also do some off the back of the surfboard, and I just need to select that colour, so I'll just use the wizard to get that colour there. Now we'll just go back to the paintbrush and finish painting that, and then go back to matte just slightly here, just to give it a bit better. I might just go back to bold inflate again, just to delete some of that because it's probably a bit much. And that's the Kiwi surfing the wave. I hope that was informative, and if there are any questions, just post in the Discord. People are happy to help. Catch you around.